So, I've been sitting with two 18-year-olds, a young lady and a young man, and we have been talking about the common denominator we see in a lot of the violence right now is that they are very young white men who are in their 20s or so. And we're discussing what that might be about and the themes around that. And so you were saying,
Oh,
can you see yourself?
yeah, hi, hello, my name is Cami. I feel that a common trait amongst all these men, with these like anger issues and such, is definitely the media. I feel that there's sort of like a clickbait made for these men, that's targeting them in particular,
And
um,
what are what kind of fears or anxieties are they targeting with
like
this group?
loneliness, just telling them just these horrid things about women that, um, like, oh, they always expect you to pay on the dates, just things like that, just targeting targeting men, um, that are, in that demographic, just lonely men, and unfortunately, it's those videos that get like very popular on social media, and there's like this like cult following of men who feel the same exact way, like, oh my gosh, every issue I have in life, it must be women, it must be this, just it must be not even just women, it could be, non-white people, it could be anything. It's just, how do I not focus on myself and my problems and just push it on everyone else? How can I blame everyone else rather than, self-reflecting?
Yeah, so that's a
Yeah.
projection of anxieties and fear on anything external, even if it's not women. It could be fascists,
Yeah.
or it could be liberals, or it could be, you know, any kind of other. So it's like a xenophobia like effect.
Yeah.
And somehow, by distracting from my own feelings, I get radicalized.
Yeah. Exactly. I think that's a great way to say it.
Okay, and so Julian, let me see yourself.
Oh, uh, well, what we are seeing right now is not an entirely new phenomenon. It's there's always been groups of young men who have taken to the gun to shoot political opponents. Uh, and there's a lot of reasons why that could happen. Usually, these people don't really have a purpose in life, or whatever purpose they had, they got like distracted from it. It's very easy to get distracted nowadays, so people can really get sucked into a lot of these online things where they're spending more time interacting with people talking about interactions with women than actually interacting with women. And a lot of these interactions are like people on 4chan describing what someone else described about another situation. And then once they get radicalized into this, it's very easy to get radicalized into all sorts of other things to form some sort of identity. You know what I mean? Like these people who are very sad that they don't get women can very easily join movements that are like white supremacists, like, and that's, I don't know. When people look at like eras like the 1950s, they saw like a happy man with his wife and two kids, and
Yeah,
they're kind of
what?
like, I want that, so I need to revert society so that I can get that.
Yeah, so what's happening now that we're seeing it being very violent and fatal?
Yeah.
Like, why is it in today's era? It seems like to me, it seems like when a young man is not able to feel like they fit into society in some way, they get strained, like the strain theory we talk about in sociology and psychology. And right now, the strain or the deviant response to it is to kill people, and that's different nowadays. And what do you think that's about? What influences the actual fatal, violent part of this?
Well, a lot of it probably stems from a lack of change in society, in the sense that they feel that the society cannot change itself, so they have to change it by force,
Change it back to the 50s?
or just change it in any way, right? That's why we get all these political assassinations, just in general, is that something isn't changing, so you want to change what you see as the cause of that thing.
And there's a sense of urgency.
Yeah, like we have to change it now because people get like there's no I don't know exactly why this person did it, why the person with Charlie Kirk did what they did, but in history, when I think of the guy who killed Charlie Kirk and the guy who tried to kill Donald Trump, I think of the guy who killed Archduke Franz Ferdinand that started World War One. Because this is how he was a young 17-year-old dude who like joined this little clique that said like the Serbian master race needs to rise above the Austrian hegemony, and he's like, I have no other purpose in life. I'm gonna get a gun and shoot this guy, right?
Okay.
This has happened throughout all of history.
But it's hyper focused right now.
Yeah, it's expanded upon right now because it's a lot easier to do that. If someone wanted to do that back then, they literally need to go to a place and get introduced into a group. Right now, I can log into a thing and immediately be in a group of hundreds and hundreds of lonely dudes who are just cycling their loneliness and hopelessness and imprinting that upon you. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
okay.
Even if you haven't had these interactions with these people, you feel as though you've had these interactions
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
these people.
Oh, there's like so the disconnect creates an artificial connection.
Yeah, it creates an artificial sense of reality where they're spending more time hearing about other people's exaggerated versions of reality rather than existing in their own.
Okay, so what do you think about all that?
Yes, I think a big factor as well is like I think this aggression, a common factor I've seen in like these really chronically lonely men is their obsession with masculinity and how they're misinterpreting masculinity or what it means to be a man. Like they have this hyper focus on, oh, I'm not getting girls, I'm, like internalized, like I must not be masculine. And so they just it's like they equate, being very violent to being masculine at the same time, whether it be punching walls, or like more extreme things like I don't know. I think that's a common factor that I've seen is just, they equate violence to being masculine, which it's not. It's like,
Can I ask you a quick question?
oh yeah.
The Epstein files not being released. No, this just folds into it a little bit. I mean, it sort of frames women. Uh, it kind of adds to that idea that women are kind of the source of the problem.
Mm.
So, what do you think about, like, if you think of a young man sitting there, kind of getting a sense of urgency that I'm not accepted by women. I need to be. That's what my whole purpose in life is. And then also, there's these women that are claiming all this sexual abuse and victimization, and they're being ignored by the president, who's a man.
Yeah. Oh, like, what about it?
I mean, what do you feel? Like, what does that make you think?
It makes me feel that we don't talk to each other enough. That, people really are thinking about themselves too much that we fail to even think about the other person's perspective. I feel that a lot of people who just look the other way, at something like the Epstein files or maybe someone, um, who's accused another person of assault or rape, I feel like we just some people they fail to try to see the perspective of another person, even if it is hard for them, even if they disagree. I still feel that you do need to try to be understanding, even if it's not, a situation you've ever been in.
Yeah.
Just a lack of
Empathy.
empathy.
Yeah, empathy. And the way you guys get empathy, I'm gonna conclude this up because it'll be too long. But the way you get empathy is uh, through connection. So when you don't know a person or a type of person and you are disconnected, and all you hear, like Julian said, is sort of you had an experience through an experience through an experience, and you get into a radicalized group in that you believe everything that's being said, and then you get this fever pitch and this sense of urgency to do something because nothing's changing fast enough. What the antidote to that is connecting face to face and having conversations with people. And that produces empathy. And with empathy, we brew like a tea almost compassion and kindness. So, and I know we kind of went around we went all the way around the subject and back, but that's kind of what I'm getting from these two young people is if you get self absorbed and you are stewing in your own feeling of insecurity, and there's some urgency to change if I need to fit in somewhere, and if I don't there's something wrong, and that sense of urgency to change fueled by a disconnected rhetoric or sense of belonging to something like a radical group, and then coupled with uh, a widespread dismissive attitude towards victims of crime, then you get this perfect storm. And the only way through that storm is walking out the door, talking to people face to face, getting their stories, and demything um, what you're insecure or afraid of. And that brews the compassion and kindness out of the inception or the creation of empathy. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, see you.